Good morning from Perth. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon to all of those on the east coast of Australia. My name is Nicholas Reid from Reid Corporate, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special RRS investor webinar featuring the well-credentialed Australian gold exploration company Gateway Mining, ASX ticker GML. Gateway is exploring the camp-scale 100% owned Montague Gold Project, located 800 kilometres northeast of Perth in the North Murchison region of WA. The company recently unveiled a further increase in the resource base of Montague to 526,000 ounces, including a maiden 77,000 ounce resource for the shallow Julius oxide discovery. Recent drilling has highlighted substantial upside to this resource base, returning significant high-grade results outside many of the cornerstone deposits at Montague. Just today, new results from RC drilling at the Achilles prospect have highlighted the huge growth potential along this highly mineralised corridor, with strong intercepts of up to 5.6 grams per tonne. To tell us about Gateway's strong exploration growth trajectory and its plans to deliver further resource increases and move towards economic studies next year, we're very pleased to have with us Gateway's Managing Director, Mark Cossom. Mark will run through a short presentation before we open up the floor to questions. If you would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A tab on your webinar browser and remember to fire it in while Mark is presenting so that I have an opportunity to put all of your questions to him at the end. Mark, it's a great pleasure to have you with us this morning. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, and we look forward to hearing an update on where Gateway's up to.
Thanks, Nicholas, and good morning. Good morning to everyone who's tuning in to have a listen. Thanks for coming along. So I guess Gateway and this opportunity to present the Gateway story and an update on what the company's been doing, and really, you know, Gateway can be summarised in terms of three main factors. And the first is a fantastic project at Montague, 800 k's north of Perth, in the heart of the Murchison Goldfields of WA. We've got a fantastic and well-credentialed board and management team who are involved in various facets of the mining industry and the mining and development process, and we've got a really supportive and well-credentialed top 20 shareholder base, and they really help us out and have been supportive of the company over a number of years. Montague itself, located up 800 k's north of Perth, as I mentioned. There's 5 little pits mined there in the 1980s, 1990s by Herald Resources, but since then Gateway's got hold of that project, and over the last couple of years particularly, we've been able to show the potential of this belt by delineating now over 500,000 ounces through several new discoveries, not just around the old pits. And really, we're still going, and we're still showing that there's plenty more to be found up there. So in terms of the company itself, we can see after a recent consolidation of the share structure, we've got just over 225 million shares on issue at the moment, a market cap of about $20 million. And, you know, really this provides and shows that there's, you know, real value in this company with a resource base over 500,000 ounces. You can see there our major shareholders, Kerry Harmanis, our biggest shareholder there, it's 12.3% of the company, and those top 20 shareholders have been really supportive of the company over time, as I've mentioned. The board of directors, and recently we undertook an addition to the board. Peter Lester came on board, a mining engineer with over 40 years experience, and at the same time, we also, Deb Fullerton took on the role as chair of the company. Deb, the former CEO of Westgold, once she stepped away from Westgold, we were able to add her into the chair role. And we can see there the balance of the board. You know, we've really started to put together a board in terms of taking the company from exploration into the next stage of its growth, as Nicholas mentioned before. So we've got the skill set on board, and the people there have got a track record of successful growth and development of junior explorers and junior gold companies through to that next stage of their life. So the Montague Gold Project and where we are, we can see about 60 k's north of Sandstone there in the Murchison region of WA. And a key thing with our project is the location and the infrastructure around it. So you can see we're right in the middle of several operating gold mines in WA, run by the mid-tiers of Western Australia. We've got excellent access with road infrastructure, water, plenty of water around. There's also the nearby town of Sandstone, Meekatharra, Magnet, Wiluna. So all the services are in the area, and really in terms of where we want to be for a gold exploration and development company, this part of WA, this part of the world is a great location. I mentioned before, we've made several new discoveries at the project, so not just around the old open pits. And really, this is the heart of the project. The real potential of the project is the fact that there's still these shallow new deposits to be found, which we're doing through the drill bit. So, recently we put out a new resource at Julia's there, and then also Achilles. We've just put out some results this morning, which are fantastic and really exciting in terms of the real upside there at the Achilles prospect. So Achilles East, and this has been the focus of a fair bit of RC work that we've been doing recently. There's an existing 99,000 ounce resource there at Achilles, and that existing resource is along strike of the historic Rosie pit there. We can see we just continue to drill that along strike. But the work we've done recently is out to the east and within the granodiorite itself, which is one of the two main host rocks there. In that map, it's the pink rock on the right-hand side of the diagram, and we put some RC holes in there following up on some historic intercepts, which were sort of, over 100 metres wide at 0.4, 0.7 of a gram per tonne, and we were able to intercept these big wide zones with up to 12 metres at 5.6 grams per tonne, and still from 56 metres, so still shallow. This is a completely new area of the deposit for us, and we're really excited about the potential. We can see this zone of mineralisation corresponds to an anomaly in the geophysics that we've got over this area, and it extends for over 4 kilometres. There's huge potential here, and really we'll be putting a lot of effort into this area going forward. Julia's, this is our most recent resource that we've added to the overall 500,000 ounces that we've got there at the project. This is a new discovery. It's really been the focus of our efforts over the last 12 to 18 months. We found it from going back through old data, seeing that there was some potential there, and we've really been through several phases of drilling, able to firm up not only that 77,000 ounce resource area, which is basically starting from the top sort of 10, 15 metres and then contained entirely within the oxide zone, but also from that resource area, which is in that little box in the diagram, we're able to keep tracking that mineralisation down to the southwest by air core drilling. So there's over 700 metres of strike there still to be explored away from the existing resource and towards the historic flame tree target, which sits there in the bottom of that diagram. So there's plenty of potential here at this Julia's area. This is turning out to be a significant new corridor of oxide mineralisation for us, and we're really excited about the potential going forward at this part of the project. In addition, we're also looking at our other resources we've got around the Montague granodiorite there. So we've got our Montague Boulder resource, our Evermore discovery, which we found back in 2020, and also further work along strike at Achilles as well. One of the key parts of this project, one of the real key attributes, is the fact that over 70% of our resources are in the top 100 metres. So we're looking at near surface, shallow mineralisation, potential for sort of open pit exploitation going forward. We've got some indicated resources now, 142,000 ounces at 2.1 grams per tonne. And really what we're able to show is that around these existing resources, there's still plenty of potential to grow with further RC drilling. So Montague Boulder, this is our biggest resource, 163,000 ounces under and around the historic Montague Boulder open pit that was mined in the early 90s, including 67,000 ounces at 4 grams per tonne, this high-grade indicated resource, showing that when we start to focus in on these high-grade shoots, they hang together nicely. And this is a key for this deposit going forward in terms of potential depth extensions and ultimately sort of underground mining opportunities. But some recent RC work we've done within the granodiorite, again, showing some of those results down the bottom there. There's plenty of mineralisation around the existing resource still to be defined. And this is really, really exciting for us because we're not having to step out far away from the existing mineral resource and keep adding more ounces to it. Evermore, this is a discovery we made back in late 2020, 67,000 ounce resource there. But one of the real exciting things we can see from that diagram that Evermore really is a continuation of the Montague Boulder system north. We kept following it out and got onto what was become the Evermore deposit. But really, we think we can keep following this around the edge of that granodiorite there, that pink shadow in the photo, towards the Whistler deposit. And this is a real heavily mineralised part of the project, and the real upside for us here is if we can continue to join these deposits up. Hopefully, there's a lot of scope there for one single continuous zone of mineralisation around this northwest part of the Montague Boulder granodiorite. So putting a lot of effort into that northern part around the north of Evermore. We can see some RC drilling we had back in 2021, 21 metres at 1.7. So we're continuing to follow up on that and move around towards that Whistler deposit. I mentioned before Achilles. So yes, we've done that work out to the east, Achilles East, which we released today. But in addition, at Achilles, we continue to drill along strike of the existing shallow oxide resource, and we can see that we put another fence of holes there to the north of the existing resource. We hit the same sort of shallow oxide mineralisation from 9 metres depth, from 14 metres depth. So near surface, shallow oxide gold, and there's plenty more to go. We can see it's still open along strike towards that Caledonian Northeast pit. So we're still pretty confident that there's more additions to that resource to come. In terms of the bigger picture of the project, and really, on the sort of more medium term, what we've got to follow and to focus in on, we've been right in the middle of, we're just about coming to the end of 2022 in our major drilling campaign, 60,000 metres of drilling. We've got the air core rig about to commence again up on site. We've done a lot of work at Julia's and Achilles, as we've mentioned. We've done RC drilling at Julia's, Montague Boulder, Achilles. We've increased those mineral resources to over 500,000 ounces, but we're also getting on with the air core rig and continue to build up those targets for 2023 and beyond. And what that looks like, we've got 1,000 square kilometres up at Montague, a real strategic land holding over this Gum Creek greenstone belt. You can see from that diagram, there's 2 of the 3 main mineralised trends up here we've got covered by our grounds, and we've got plenty of targets to move on with. And just for scope, you can see the area we've been focused on so far at Montague Boulder. That's that little black box there around the number 4. So we've still got plenty of room to explore, plenty of targets to get on with in the medium term, and we really are pretty excited by what we can define at this project. So in summary, as I mentioned before, Gateway is a fairly simple and fairly exciting proposition. We've got a great land holding in a tier 1 part of the world. We've been really busy this year with plenty of drilling, 60,000 metres completed, nearly complete this year. We've got more to do next year. We've got the resources up over 500,000 ounces, and there's plenty of scope to make it bigger. We've really started to show that there's a large gold system there. Some of the results we put out today from Achilles East, there's some big wide zones of mineralisation that have real potential over a large footprint. And most importantly, we've got the people on board at the board level, at the management team level, who have done it before. They've been involved with discoveries. They've been involved with growing companies for shareholders and really creating value. So that's us. Any questions, send them through. And Nicholas, I'm happy to hand back to you and see what we've got.
Thanks very much, Mark. We will open the floor now to questions, and just a reminder to everyone listening to please use the Q&A tab and log your questions so that I can put it to Mark. I might just kick off with a couple of key changes, Mark, that have happened since we last spoke, one of which is that you've completed a share capital consolidation. The other is that you've updated or changed the name of the project. Can you just quickly talk us through those 2 things and the rationale for that?
Yeah, look, I suppose the share consolidation, Gateway's a fairly old company, been around for a long time, so we ended up just through the normal processes with a lot of shares on issue, and we sort of thought that it was a key time for us to consolidate, to tighten up the register a bit, and really, add to the attractiveness of the company. Coming out of that consolidation, we've got a great project. We've got the money to go out and explore it. We're actively involved on the ground drilling, and now a fairly tight share register. That means that it's a really attractive investment proposition, and really going forward, Gateway has the potential to really grow for its shareholders. And then in terms of what was the second part of the question, Nicholas?
It was just the share capital reconstruction as well. Just the rationale for that and how that's been received.
It's been received really well. We've all our shareholders that I speak to were really on board with it and supportive of it. And I think it's really added to the attractiveness of Gateway as an investment proposition going forward. We're West Australian focused gold company with existing resources, brand new resources, and going forward, we'll really a development opportunity for us in terms of the economic evaluation of those resources and hopefully turning into account for shareholders.
Thanks, Mark. We do have a few questions coming in. I'll just start with this one from Mark Clark. So the question is about the company's share price or share performance on the market, which is always a difficult one to answer, for an MD. But I guess perhaps if you could just sort of talk broadly, Mark makes the observation here that the share price has sort of come down probably in relative terms over the last couple of years.
Yep.
There has been a consolidation during that period, which you just touched on. But can you just talk us through your views on that, and perhaps, I guess what sort of catalysts you see that might be opportunities for investors to look forward to in terms of possible re-ratings or share price catalysts to get it back moving in the right direction? We all like to see a share price going up, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in the way the share price has been the last little while now, and it's a tough market out there for junior explorers in general, but particularly in the gold market, where we are really beholden to the sentiment, and the sentiments. That part of the market's not really been really enthusiastic for the last little while. So we've kind of been just getting on with what we've got to do. We really believe in the project and in the quality of the work that we're doing, and so we're continuing to stick to our strategy, building the resource base up at the project, putting holes in the grounds, finding these new shallow resource ounces to keep adding to the project and enable us to keep moving it forward. And I guess we've sort of taken the view as a board that if we keep doing that, as people start, looking back to the junior gold sector, and I think that's, starting to see a little bit of that now in terms of people can recognise there's quite a bit of value in that part of the market. If you look at, the relative value of Gateway for over 500,000 ounces of resources, people are starting to see that there's some opportunities there. And I think if we're able to demonstrate that, we're doing good quality work, we've got a quality project and real exciting future, that hopefully that'll start to translate through to an uptick in the share price. But in the meantime, we just got to keep doing what we said we're going to do, and keep moving the project forward.
Thanks very much, Mark. Just on the topic of share price catalyst, so there's a major drill program, 60,000 meters, which you covered off on. Approximately what proportion of assays have been received for that program, and can you give us a sense of what news flow we can expect moving forward from here?
Yeah, sure. So we've probably still got about 15,000 meters to drill this year. So we've probably drilled about 45,000 so far, and probably got back about 3/4 of those assays. So there's still some more to come. We've been doing a lot of work on the Evermore corridor, and then down through Montague Boulder further to the south around the historic Caledonian open pit, which Gateway's only done a little bit of work around previously. This was one of the main pits that was mined in the early 90s, so we're pretty excited about the potential there. So those results are still all to come. And then we're kicking off this air core program, which will be literally the end of this week. We'll start drilling, and we'll be pretty much drilling through to the shutdown in December, where we traditionally shut down for Christmas. So those results really won't come through till early next year. So there'll be further news flow this year, and then into the new year from the results of the drilling still to come.
Thanks, Mark. Another question here from Mark Clark. He's asked if you can comment on the position of Crest Investments as a top 3 shareholder. He says that they're now listed as Peter Langworthy and Scott Brown, directors, are now listed in the top 8 shareholders. Have they reduced their holding in Gateway?
No, there's been no reductions there. They've stayed pretty steady, and they've been one of our more supportive shareholders over the last number of years. Yeah.
So no sell down by Crest.
No, there's been there's been no real change. In fact, the only changes in our top 20 over the last, quite as long as I can remember, have been our top 20 shareholders have been increasing their positions. So that's been really, really heartening. That even though it's been a tough market, some of our top 20 shareholders, our supportive shareholders, have seen an opportunity to pick up some more shares and support the company further, and we always appreciate that. So
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Mark. I think it's an important point. So you've got very stable support from the top end of your share register. Question here from Daniel Roots. He says, what is your plan with the listed investments that you hold? Yeah,
actually, that's something I didn't really spend much time on, but we obviously have fairly big shareholdings in Strickland Metals and in Discovex. We've arrived at those shareholdings through a rationalisation of our project portfolio a number of years ago. And look, we're not an investment fund, so we're not looking to be holding on to them long term. But at the moment, they're sitting there in our portfolio, and we're always looking at what's the best thing to do with those shareholdings. And obviously, in pretty simple terms, they're better off if we can find an opportunity to get cash and put that cash into the ground. Then that's what we'll do. But we're constantly sort of looking at what's the opportunity there and what's the best thing for Gateway shareholders.
Thanks, Mark. Next question here from Craig Maggs. He says, what is the ultimate end game from a strategic point of view? Is it to actually develop and mine the resources, or would you be looking to combine through a regional consolidation, M&A, or takeover activity in the district? And if so, I think there's another similar question here. What are the logical, I suppose, players in the region that you would make sense to combine with?
Well, that's a good question, and I suppose in terms of our thinking, that's been one of the real drivers behind the recent additions and reshuffling of our board. If you look at the composition of our board now, we have a great array of skills. People being involved with operating, mid-tier, major WA gold producers. We've got, including myself, people on the board involved in developing gold discoveries into operating gold mines. We've got the experience there in terms of corporate M&A type activity. So in terms of the ultimate end game, really, and it's a key point for us to make, is that we're looking for opportunities to turn this into value for shareholders. We don't want to keep drilling forever and ever. We're looking for ways of commercialising the project. We've obviously got the skills now internally to look at what the development scenarios are for our own resources. There's opportunities there, as mentioned, in terms of if there's a potential for something complementary in the region with other companies, then we'll look at those opportunities if and when they come about. There's obviously opportunities with the other existing operating mining companies in the area, which are not too far away from us. So there's plenty of potential pathways that we can go down. And the real key, I suppose, to emphasise there is that we are, as a board, actively aware of that and making sure that we're positioning the company now to be able to take advantage and really have a positive outcome for shareholders from this project that we're building.
I guess a related question to that, Mark, is, so do you have an idea when you might update the resource inventory next? And I guess more broadly, is there a tipping point or a scale of resource that you would consider sufficient to sort of move to an economic development study?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose we'll update our resource statement again next year, 2023. I suppose that the exact timing on that will depend on some of the results we still have outstanding and some of the drilling we've got planned early in the new year. So we'll look to keep adding to those resource base, and that's really going to be extensions to the existing resources where we've already demonstrated that those deposits are still open. In terms of the scale and tipping point of looking at those options for the project, well, really that was a key for us getting over that 500,000 ounce threshold, and most importantly, adding something like the Julius deposit there, which is shallow, near surface. It's quite easily exploitable by open pit mining techniques. So we're starting to just internally run the ruler over a few of those deposits and what that looks like, and I suppose one of the attractive parts of where we are is that there are options for potentially kicking off earlier. Traditionally everyone wants to get to 1 million ounces, and we do want to get to 1 million ounces, and we continue to drill to get to that end game. But in the meantime, we can be looking at our options, and we're really at the point now where we can start to run the numbers on some of our existing deposits and have a look at what that looks like. Obviously, even though I said before the sentiment's not great in the sector, the Australian dollar gold price is actually quite attractive. So we'd be remiss if we weren't looking at those options and what they look like. And one of the key things with all of our deposits, except for Evermore, actually, is that they're all on granted mining leases. So we don't have to go through that sort of hoop. We can sort of skip a few stages and start looking at what those options look like for the deposits. So we've got a little bit of a head start there, but there's still plenty of work to be done between now and some sort of mining outcome or development outcome. But we're definitely thinking that way now.
Thanks, Mark. There's a couple of related questions here from Daniel Roots and Mark Clark. So the first is how much cash you're going to have in your quarterly. I guess without putting you in an awkward spot, can you give us an idea of your funding position? Because Mark's question was also when would you expect to do another capital raise? So can you talk through perhaps more broadly your funding position and where you sit from that side of things?
Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose that our September quarter numbers will come out soon. So that will sort of all come out once we've finished compiling those figures and the like. But we had our cash position end of June, which was 3.7 million, and those listed investments were about $1.6 million as well. And so at that point, we were funded through to next year, and that's keeping going the same sort of work rate that we budgeted. So our existing plan programs are covered by our current cash position. But the fact is we're a junior explorer, so at some point, yes, we will have to raise capital again. But in the meantime, we're fully funded to keep going. We're kicking off this new drill program this week, and we'll just keep going as we plan to do.
Thanks very much. There's a couple more questions here from Mark, so I do want to cover off all of these just to make sure we cover the points he's raised. He's raised a question about Strickland, STK. I think there was an announcement today saying, and I haven't checked this, but there was a change of directors' interest saying you'd acquired some more shares. Is that correct? And in Strickland, and he's saying, why would you not buy more Gateway shares?
That's those Strickland shares. Yeah, that's true, because I'm on the board of Strickland. They were relating to a capital raising that was done last year. They only got ratified at the AGM, which was last week. So that's why that's coming out now. So that was actually shares that I purchased, I think it was November last year, I think it was. So that's a while ago. And yeah, I'm obviously in a position where I can't always buy Gateway shares on market because I'm in possession of knowledge that's not always in the market itself. So that's sometimes a tricky one. But definitely I've contributed to every capital raising that the company's undertaken since I've been involved. So I continue to plan to in the future should it come up. So yeah.
There's a question here, Mark, just about today's announcement and the results that came out of Achilles. So there's a reference in there to some very large sort of low-grade intercepts with similarities to, it's obviously granodiorite-hosted mineralisation with some broad sort of bulk type intercepts. Is there any similarity between that style of mineralisation and what has been seen at the King of the Hills granodiorite deposit? And I guess the line of this question is there that sort of potential, for bulk, large scale, sort of multi-million ounce deposits on your ground? Yep.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's a good comparison to make. We've sort of said in the past that the setting there on the edge of the Montague granodiorite is similar to that King of the Hills Tarmula series of deposits that Red 5 have. And excuse me, the intercepts that we're seeing are definitely in a broad sense, and without getting bogged down in the minutiae of geology. In a broad sense, it's similar. We have a major sort of shear zone there on the edge of the granodiorite, and then we have that shear deformation continuing in there, and we have a lot of sort of small quartz veining stockwork type formed in the granodiorite, and that's what's carrying the gold. So there is quite clearly similarities there, and I suppose that the big thing that we can see is that the sheer scale of gold mineralisation in that corridor there at Achilles is quite large. So we are dealing with a a big footprint gold system. And the key for us, and sort of we touched on in the release, was that we're right now just trying to apply some other techniques to those drill holes that we've already drilled, to see if we can come up with ways of delineating the better grade parts of that system. So obviously it's a big system, plenty of big wide intercepts of gold mineralisation, but really we want to be able to focus on those parts of it that are going to ultimately be economic and really add big ounces to our resource base. So that's a key bit of work we're doing, our geos are doing at the moment, with a few different sort of ideas that they've had. So that's the way that we're really going to be able to drive this forward. But the positive thing from our point of view is we have that system there. It is there, we can see it. So then that's the first box ticked, and then beyond that we sort of see how we can refine it and exploit it with the drill rig.
Thanks, Mark. Couple more that have come in from Mark Clark. He says, is there any likelihood of M&A with Strickland, as both boards seem to be aligned?
I don't know how to answer that. No, I don't. It's hard for me to say be on Gateway and Strickland boards, but we're in different parts of WA and on different sort of trajectories. So for Gateway, we obviously look at opportunities in our area. We're constantly sort of looking at those inorganic growth opportunities, I suppose you'd say, and we are actively doing that on a constant basis. So we're looking in our backyard, and there are things there. Anyone who's looked at a map of our neck of the woods knows that it is quite a number of different companies operating in the area. So there is that opportunity there, and that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, I guess that I'm not familiar with Strickland, but there's no obvious geographic synergies there.
No, they're a fair way away off to the east of us. Yep.
Thanks, Mark. A final one here from Mark. Why was there not an upgrade to the resource on the Whistler and other cornerstone deposits outside of Julia's in that update that was put out recently?
Yeah, well, that actually was that's a fairly simple one. The resource shares that we use for our estimates, they're all pretty much in demand at the moment, and we had to prioritise what we thought was the best to do. We could have updated a couple of our resources, Whistler being one of them, or get a new one out for Julia's, and we prioritised Julia's. So that was where we put our focus. We thought that was the most pressing opportunity for the company, which it was, and still is. But yeah, definitely we're continuing to work on updating our other resources, Whistler being one of them. So that one was really just a matter of the opportunity and the time we had available to us, and where we chose to put that focus.
Thanks, Mark. Got another one from Mark. He's putting us through our paces here, but I do want to make sure we put all the questions to you. He says, when do you expect Gateway to achieve the 1 million ounce sort of target or threshold? He says, we have spoken about this on videos in the past, and that I'm not sure what timing we put on it. He says that we indicated it might have been towards the end of last year, but what is your view on that? And I know it's very difficult with to put timeframes on exploration-driven projects, but can you give us a view on that?
Yeah, well, so we've sort of up over 500,000, and I guess it's always dependent on the success of your drilling. So we can sort of see, if you like, with our current resources, the current sort of potential that's in front of us. We can see our way to 750,000 ounces, and then beyond that we'll keep working. So in terms of getting to 1 million ounces, will it happen in the short term? Not without a fantastic drill result somewhere new, but we can definitely see that pathway towards 1 million ounces. The next step being sort of 750,000 ounces. We can see that on the horizon, and then from there just sort of keep drilling and keep growing to get towards that 1 million ounce. So yeah.
Just a related question, Mark. One, I think under the JORC code, it is possible to announce exploration targets depending on how much drilling has been completed.
Yep.
Is that a strategy that you've considered? Is there enough drilling to sort of put an exploration target out the company could then seek to backfill with ongoing work?
Yeah, look, I definitely think with regards to something like this new Achilles work that we've done, that's an opportunity that we might do to try and help our shareholders understand of what we think the scale is there. With regards to our other known deposits, it's probably because there are existing resources there, we're probably better off just showing what we've got already in terms of JORC compliant resources, and then the opportunities to expand. But definitely for this new area of Achilles, we can, that's one we might look at that strategy to help our shareholders understand exactly what we're seeing internally from a technical point of view. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. The next one from Craig Maggs. He's asked if you can give us an update on what's happening at Kashmir. He notes that Horizon have just had good intercepts at Howard's just today, I believe. So obviously very close by. So what's the latest there?
Yep, they did actually put out some results right just south of our tenement, where they've been doing some work, and I guess that shows that on the back of the work that we did at Kashmir, they recognise that we've been adding some value there. We're currently waiting on. We did a couple of rounds of RC drilling there over the last few months, so we've got about half those results back. We'll put them out once we've got them all compiled and sort of put into context. But yeah, Kashmir, definitely we sort of were able to show previously that Howard's trend continued onto the ground, and we were able to sort of map it out. So it's still an exciting part of the world that we're operating in.
Thanks, Mark. Another one here from Mark. He's asked about. He says, why, when we have experienced in-house geologists, are we outsourcing that function? Can you just comment on that? Because I know you have been working hard to build the team. You've added some more people to the board. There's an new office established here in Perth, and you have been very focused on building Gateway. Mm-hmm. So can you give us some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we basically have an exploration manager and 2 geologists on board, and those guys really look after the core field programs, managing and running the field programs up at Montague. We outsource field assistants, and then occasionally extra sort of rig geologists to particularly on a backfill or roster rotation. So that's sort of how we handle that. And then we outsource some of the specialised functions. I mentioned the resource estimation function previously. That's a specialised area, and it also requires specialised software, which we don't have in-house. And then also some of the other functions like some of the geophysics and geochemical type specialists, and that's really just trying to make sure that we have the best available people working on our projects at the best sort of price and cost for Gateway shareholders. Not having all those guys in-house. We're not a big mining company. We don't have those in-house specialities, if you like, but definitely we utilise the skills as we require them.
So it's basically optimising what you outsource to get the best overall result for the company.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been working on, I mentioned before, building the Gateway internal team, and that's really to handle our core functions, which is our field exploration programs, compiling the data, interpreting it, deciding where we're going next, and that's something we've done over the last couple of years, is to build that function in-house. But we're still a junior. We sort of have a huge budget for those sort of large in-house technical teams. So we utilise consultants as our way of adding to our field programs.
Thanks, Mark. The next one here is a good question from Craig Maggs. He says, what's the potential of the undrilled eastern boundary of the granodiorite dome? Which is a good question, because when you look at the diagram, it's all the gold and all the deposits are concentrated on the other side. So he raises a good point there.
Absolutely, and that's a real area of sort of longer term exploration opportunity for the company, if you like, because there's about 9 kilometres of strike on that east side, and there's some old historic workings there. We've obviously got the Kashmir prospect that we've been drilling along strike from Howard's, which sits on the east side of the dome. So in terms of it's a bigger picture target. It's really a lot less mature from an exploration point of view than the western side, which is where in times gone past, there's been a lot more mining activity, and so a lot more focus on the gold mineralisation there. But yeah, we see huge opportunity there to explore that east side of the dome, and we know that there's bits and pieces of gold mineralisation there already because there's been historic mining. We've got the drilling at Kashmir that we've done. There is a lot of opportunity there for future exploration.
Excellent. Another follow-up from Mark. He says, what happened to the Monarch results further to the high-grade soil sample of 18.7 grams per tonne?
So Monarch, that was we did some RC drilling back there a few months ago, and we sort of put those samples back in for some multi-element analysis. It's a complex part of the project there, and we had some interesting results come back in terms of the geology, and what we were seeing was a little bit unexpected. So we've put those samples back in to get some more analysis done on them, and then we'll get those results and sort of pull them together to try and make sense of that part of the world. It's quite different geology to what we're looking at, particularly on the margin of the granodiorite, and it's not had a lot of work done previously, so we're finding out as we go along out there a little bit. But there's clearly gold there, and a big anomaly as we mentioned, and we had rock chip samples at surface up to 18 grams per tonne, so it's still an area to focus on for us.
Okay, great. Well, look, I think we've covered off most of the questions that have come in. So perhaps, Mark, if I could just ask you to wrap up for us. If anything else does come in, I'll put it to you. But if you want to just sort of wind things up for us by giving a quick summary from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nicholas. Well, yeah, as I mentioned before, Gateway's pretty simple story. We've got the Montague Gold Project in a great part of WA, which is really from a gold exploration and development point of view, that's where you want to be out of anywhere in the world, just about. So we've got a key land holding. We've got a great team on board. We've got the money to go out. We're actively in the field and drilling. We've got good resource base so far. Over 500,000 ounces now being defined at the project. We're finding new deposits there, which we're adding to that resource base. So going forward, it's a pretty exciting story to watch and to be involved with. We really think that we are able to keep building that resource base in the near term, and hopefully take this project through to something really of value for shareholders. So thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Thank you, Mark. And look, thanks very much to everyone for joining us this morning. Thank you for your questions as well. There were lots of them, and we really appreciate it. And obviously, we'll look forward to keeping you posted on further news as Gateway progresses, and hopefully puts out lots more announcements like the one today. So, Mark, thanks for joining us. Thank you to everyone, and we wish you all the very best for the rest of your week.